Are you ready to learn the essential words, phrases and idioms that you need for your next trip? Then buckle up, grab your passport and get ready for a trip around the globe as we take a deep dive into the world of travel vocabulary. Our first phrase is itchy feet. Now this does not mean that you need to scratch your feet. Rather, it's the feeling of being bored with your current life situation and wanting to travel, to explore, to try something new. It's that little voice in your head that says, what if there's more to life than this? What if I'm missing out on something amazing? Now, we often use itchy feet with get or have. After 2 years in the job, Carly got itchy feet. So Carly has worked somewhere for 2 years and she's getting a little bored and she starts feeling a strong desire to go somewhere new, to try something different, to travel, to explore. Or we could say, Mohammed has itchy feet again. So this sounds like Mohammed has travelled in the past, he's come back to a normal job, but he's starting to feel bored and he wants to explore somewhere new. So, if you've got itchy feet, it might be time to grab your passport and get ready for a new adventure. Now, your passport is the identification document that you use to enter a new country. Once you have your passport, it's time to go to the airport and check in. Check in is when you arrive and register for a flight. This is also when you hand in your luggage, which is the suitcases and bags that you use to travel. Now remember, luggage is an uncountable noun. This means it doesn't matter how much luggage we have, we do not add an S. We do not say luggages, we say 3 pieces of luggage. Now that you have checked in your bags, let's head over to the departure lounge. The departure lounge is the area where you go and sit and wait for your next flight. It often has food and drinks and maybe a place where you can buy magazines. When it's time for your flight, the flight attendant will tell you to go to your gate. The gate is the exit, the doorway, the passage from the airport to the plane, and often there will be a large number telling you what gate number it is. Once you've gone to the gate, it is time to get on the flight and take off. Okay, so take off can be a phrasal verb or a noun. Let's look at the phrasal verb first of all. Take off as a phrasal verb means to leave the ground, to depart, to get off the floor and move into the sky. Quick example, our flight is taking off in 30 minutes. We'd better run. Quick tip, take off is an inseparable phrasal verb. This means we always keep the words take and off together and we never put an object in the middle. So we do not say the pilot took the plane off, for example. Take off is also a noun. So you might hear the pilot say, take off will begin in 5 minutes. Or, please prepare for takeoff. Okay, you've arrived. You've shown your passport to border control and you are in the new country. Congratulations. What's the first thing we should do? Let's drop our bags off at the hotel and go exploring. To drop something or someone off means to take it to a particular place before going somewhere else. We use this a lot when traveling because we often have to put important things like luggage or passport in the hotel or somewhere safe before we go traveling somewhere else. Drop off is a separable phrasal verb, meaning we can put objects in the middle or at the end. So we can say either, let's drop off the bags at the hotel, or let's drop the bags off at the hotel. Now the type of hotel you are staying at will depend on whether you are traveling on a shoestring budget or whether you want to splurge out. If you are traveling on a shoestring, it means you are traveling with very little money. So for example, after losing her wallet, Terry was traveling on a shoestring. You can also add the word budget to make it clearer. For example, we had to travel on a shoestring budget. We commonly use this phrase to talk about traveling But we can also use it in other contexts. For example, Mal started his business on a shoestring budget, or many students live on a shoestring budget. If we have a little money, but more than on a shoestring, we can say we are traveling on a budget. Now remember, in British English, we spell traveling with 2 L's, and in American English, they spell it with 1 L. But maybe you don't want to travel on the cheap. You have worked hard all year, and you would like to spend some of your money on a fancy hotel. What do we say then? When we spend a lot of money on something, we can say we splurge on it. Splurge is the verb, and splurge out is the phrasal verb, and both mean to spend an unusually large amount of money on something. To spend more on something than you usually would. For example, it's Valentine's Day. Let's splurge out on an expensive meal. Splurge can also be a noun. I went on a splurge and I spent a fortune. Going on holiday can be expensive, can't it? Let's go and get some cash. But what do we call this machine by here? Well, it depends on where in the world you are. In American English, they call it an ATM. However, in British English, we can call it a card machine, a bank machine, or a cash machine, and all have the same meaning, and it's the place where you take out your money. All of these are fine and have the same basic meaning. So we've dropped off our bags, we have got our cash, and we are ready to explore. Let's go sightseeing. Sightseeing is a gerund, and it means the act of visiting places of interest. So if you went sightseeing in London, you might go and see Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, or the London Eye, for example. We often use sightseeing with go or do some. Let's go sightseeing. Or Sumin wants to do some sightseeing in Seoul. So you've taken a look around the city and you've done some good sightseeing. But now it's time to act and eat and travel like the local people do. After all, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. This is a proverb which means that you should follow the rules and traditions and customs and behaviour of the place that you are visiting. The full expression is, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, but usually we just say, when in Rome. Now, an important note. It doesn't matter where in the world we are, we always say, when in Rome. If we're in Amsterdam, we don't say, when in Amsterdam. If we're in Tokyo, we don't say, when in Tokyo. We always say, when in Rome, to show that we should follow the local traditions and cultures. Wow, what a long day. All this sightseeing has made you tired. Surprisingly so. You don't usually feel this tired at 6 o'clock. You left home in the evening 12 hours ago, and now it is still evening. Your body clock doesn't understand what's going on. So what do we call this feeling of tiredness when we travel across time zones? We call it jet lag. And this is that extreme tiredness or sometimes sickness that you feel when you travel a long distance by plane and you go across time zones and your body clock doesn't quite understand where you are. We often use jet lag with get or have. I got bad jet lag after my flight to Australia. Or I had jet lag for 2 days after my flight. We can also use it with suffering from. Jenna isn't coming to the party tonight. She's still suffering from jet lag. You spend the next few days enjoying the rest of your holiday, but then at some point, it's time for the return leg. Boo! The return leg is the flight home from your holiday. You might also hear this called the return journey, the flight home, or the flight back. Oh no, you're back home, you're back in work, and you're wishing you were back on holiday again. You must be suffering from a case of the post-holiday blues. This is when you feel sad after returning from a long holiday or trip. You miss the good times, you miss the freedom, you are lethargic or bored or not in a good mood, because you miss that holiday spirit. Of course, in America, they call a trip away from home a vacation. So they call this feeling the post-vacation blues. But bad times don't last forever. Now that you've been bitten by the travel bug, you can start planning for your next trip. If you have the travel bug, you have a strong desire to travel again. We often say that people catch the travel bug, or that they have been bitten by the travel bug. Or maybe you've had enough holidaying for 1 year, and your next holiday is going to be a staycation. This is a portmanteau of stay and vacation, and it means that for your days off, you will stay in your home or in your local area and maybe take small day trips around your local town or city. It is a holiday that does not need overnight accommodation, as you are staying in your own home. For example, due to the cost of living crisis, this year we'll be having a staycation. This is a relatively new and informal word. You might also hear it called a holistay. Okay, thanks for travelling with BBC Learning English Airlines. We hope you had a wonderful flight and a wonderful journey, and that it was educational and fun. On the side here, you can see all the words that we have learned today. Be sure to use and practice them so they are put into your long-term memory. If you enjoyed this language journey, please be sure to like and subscribe below and click one of these links to discover lots more useful English practice to give your English that boost that you need. Bon voyage! See you next time!